Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Twitch chat. Welcome back to Let Us Play. I'm your host, Father Evan. It's good to be back with y'all today. It's good to see you, Brayherd. Good to see you, K-Max. Good to see you, Bad Roxy. Good luck on the interview, Bad Roxy. And Brayherd, congratulations. You have won the true crown of Firstendom, not Bad Roxy, not K-Max. Hello, Craig. Good to see you, too. But Brayherd has won the crown of Firstendom. But what is a crown of Firstendom? A miserable pile of being the first person to activate the redeem. Yes, that's the third time I've used that joke for this stream today, because I've also used it in the Discord notification and the stream title. I love the what is a man miserable pile of secrets. But enough talk. Let's stream. Well, actually, my mother. My mother. Oh dear. That's a candy spin. And this will not be the candy spin. You got an actual candy spin, K-Max. So we're going to try one of these first. You try that? Well, you also like pizza smoothies, so I don't know if that really says much. Then again, here I am trying them, so who am I to say? Oh, that does not smell like mango. That smells like fake pineapple. Oh. That is so bad. It's like it tastes like diet lime soda with just a hint of heat. There's really not that much chili in this. I'm a little disappointed in the lack of chili, but chili lime mango. It's really just kind of lime. Yeah. So those will be added to the wheel. But here is your spin, K-Max. Musk stick. Now, when I got these, they had a consistency that was kind of soft, not marshmallowy, but like bubblegumish. Yeah, they've hardened into a rock. Like, just so you can hear that. Like, this is gonna be a bad follow up. Thank you, Australia. Gift that keeps on giving. You bought the chili that made me go peeps. Oh dear. Well, musk sticks are better fresh, but the flavor has not changed. It tastes like a flower garden. Let's play some Castlevania. Aria of Sorrows. This was on the Game Boy Advance. Brevin. You prefer the chili lime mango peeps over the strawberry Pop-Tart peeps. I didn't get to try the strawberry Pop-Tart peeps. And yes, this is an S tier. I think I still prefer... Oh, I gotta do some story. The year is 2035, Japan. Crowds of spectators are gathering in anticipation of the first full solar eclipse of the 21st century. That's not true. My name is Soma Cruz, and I am a high school exchange student studying abroad in Japan. I live near the Hakuba Shrine, an ancient shrine with strong ties to Japanese mythology. Mina Hakuba, the only daughter of the shrine's caretaker, is both my classmate and my childhood friend. I started making my way to the shrine to see the solar eclipse with Mina, but for some strange reason, I can't read this text because it's white on white. Something destination. I finally managed to get through the gate and my senses began to dim. The pitch black sun is holding chaotic darkness together, trying to rouse a sleeping soul as if looking for its missing other half. You're ringing the bell. Well, no one's gonna buy against that now. Anyway, I do think this one is very good. I think I still prefer Symphony of the Night more. And part of it is nostalgia and part of it is memes, but... Oh, Hey, looks like he's coming too. Where am I? Whoa, what happened? So, you've decided to join us. Did you have a pleasant nap? Huh? Who the heck are you? It's okay, Soma. His name is Genya Arikado. I wonder who that could be. Skip the introductions. I have a few questions I need answers now. Okay, go ahead. Why have you come here? What? Well, Mina and I... Hang on. Where are we? We're in Dracula's castle. Huh? Dracula's castle? Are you telling me we're in Europe? No. We are inside the solar eclipse. Wow, that got... that just went straight over the... jumping the shark right away. Inside the eclipse? You're insane. Do you think I'm a fool? Soma, listen to him. He's telling you the truth. What the heck are you talking about? Give me an explanation. Well, it's like this. Huh? An enemy. An enemy. An enemy. Darn. Protect the girl. Yeah. Go back to where you came from. What was that thing? So it has awakened. But what has? The spirit of the creature you killed has just entered your body. You have the power to absorb the abilities of the monsters you kill. Why? Why would I have a power like that? You have gained the power. Now you must go to the Master's Chamber. For what reason? Do you not wish to return with your friend to your own world? Of course I want to go back. Go to the Master's Chamber then. You will understand everything. But I can't just leave Mina here like this. No need to worry about her. I'll put a protective barrier. Death will most certainly find those who stay here too long. Then I... Yes, only you can save her from a painful death. And you, what will you do? I, too, have things I must do within these castle walls. Go, set forth. Both your own life and hers are at stake. Okay, bye, Mina. Okay, we have 2 candy spins. Thank you, K-Max, for the candy spins. You found the chili lime mango peeps were way too mango, not enough chili or lime. It tastes just like diet lime soda to me. Like, just lime. But anyway, 1-4. Also good choices. I want to get caught up in chat here for a moment. Go off, K-Max. Go off. Anyway. Well, at least this means that I get all the spins out of the way bright and early. With a ginger pastille. Now, what about Dawn of Sorrow? How do people feel about Dawn of Sorrow? And part of it is like, I know that the GBA is more limited, but I don't know. There's... Turkish pepper licorice and a ginger pastille. The other sequel? I know Dawn. I don't know. An audio drama. Fascinating. Okay, Ginger Steel. Audio dramas are not real. Strong disagree, Gales. I've listened to many. But anyway, how you doing? You not believe in their existence? Well, I have bad news. They exist whether or not you believe in them. And Turkish pepper. Thanks to Gale. Oh. Ginger, pepper, licorice, all at once. Bad. This is on the Switch. Ah. Flavors are fighting. Oh. Those are definitely flavors of all time. Thank you for the spitch cam. You're helping. You are. Backdash. I also love that Help Ding has become a meme. And I don't know if I started it, but I definitely was an instigator. How is licorice more powerful than ginger? But I still have the burning sensation of ginger. Hello, Stella. Are you winning, Father? Well, maybe at the game, but definitely not at flavors. We spun some doozies on the candy wheel. Oh, he's a large lad. Ow! He hurts. Be gone. No, I said be gone. Ah. My throat burns from the ginger, but all I taste is peppery licorice. It's just like, ugh. Luck is still broken. Luck is always broken. I was playing Ys 10, and I just decided to max out luck to like any equipment or anything that gave me luck. Just got some ridiculous items in the game. Did you have that slicker? Well, okay, so K-Max redeemed 2 wheel spins at the same time. And I got the ginger Pastille, so that's where the ginger's coming from. And then we got the Turkish pepper licorice, where it said licorice. And falling speed slows down and jump distance increases. Ow. Now, how do I know a luck stat always pays off? Because I know Gale. Gale is like the human embodiment of maxing out the luck stat. Only up. That's weird. A blue crow? Crows aren't blue. Ow! Ow! Now, I have not played this game since last year. I know that because the game literally tells you on the selection screen of the different Castlevania games included in the collection. It's like, oh, you played this one on this one, this date. They were all 2025. It's like, well. It's a good time for a fresh playthrough, I guess. I don't really remember much. And even then, my playthrough last year, I only played, like, first few areas. I'm almost at the low center of the licorice. Because these Turkish licorices, they have like the sour ones have like citric acid in the middle, and the pepper ones just have pepper in the middle. I was about to ask if you've done a full playthrough on stream before. Nope. This is my first time playing this on stream. I played 4 and Symphony on stream. Off stream, I've played 1. I haven't really played 2, even though I have it in the collections. I should actually give it a go at some point. It's a terrible night to have a curse. Anyway, so 1, 4, Symphony, Rondo, Aria, Border Ecclesia, whatever the DS one with the twins was. The other 2 GBA ones, I actually had physical copies of Harmony of Dissonance and Circle of the Moon at one point. I need to find a save point. Portrait of Ruin, yes. I like Portrait of Ruin. Okay, I have made a beeline for the west or the east side of the castle, apparently. I've never tried any of the 3D Castlevanias, and I don't know if I have the heart to. Or stomach. Especially the Lords of Darkness brand, or whatever it was called, that 3D reboot. What about Castlevania 64? Are you secretly a Castlevania 64 apologist? I tried watching the anime, and while the artwork is well done, I found it way too gory, and I was like, nope. Oh, hello there. Hello. You're human, aren't you? Relax, my name is Graham. Let's say I'm a missionary. Oh, I'm Soma Cruz. You weren't here in this shrine before, were you? How did you get in here? I'm not sure. I went through the shrine gate and boom! I was here. I see. Can I ask you a question? Go ahead, I don't mind. Is it true that this is Dracula's castle? It most certainly is. But is it Dracula's castle in Europe somewhere? In theory, yes, but the true castle exists somewhere else. His true castle? Yes. It's well-known fact in the underworld. Yeah, because I frequent the underworld. Do you believe in vampires? Well, no. I thought the story of Dracula was made up, actually. No, it's all true. He was leaked to the outside world. Usually the church handles these things with utmost secrecy. Over the course of time, Dracula has resurrected many times when people lost faith and craved chaos and destruction. So are you trying to tell me now that Dracula has been resurrected? No. Dracula perished in 1999. You know the prophecy of 1999, don't you? Yes, Star Wars Episode 1 came out. I used to think it all went wrong right there. Nostradamus' great prophecy. That's right. Dracula was resurrected exactly as he predicted. But vampire hunters destroyed him completely. They ended his regeneration cycle by sealing his castle, the symbol of his demonic power inside the darkness of an eclipse. That eclipse is where we are now. Yes, but there's still more to the story. There's more. In the year 2035, a new master will come to the castle and he will inherit all of Dracula's power. But yes, that time is now. I better get going. Is that all then? Oh yes, thank you. Farewell and be careful. Yes, you too. I'm intentionally doing like really bad scene chewing dialogue here. Our voices for the dialogue. Oh. My throat burns. That's how you're playing. This is so know your faves. Nice. Yeah, we literally just started. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, fine. Be that way. Everyone hates me in this castle. I don't understand it. Why? 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 Why do you exist? Oh. Ah! I'm getting all my buttons mixed up. Catching up on the discourse. Well, you're in good crowd here of people who hold Aria in very high esteem. Ow. Why am I so bad at this game? You know, I don't think I'm high enough level to be here. I think I'm supposed to go somewhere else first, but we live here. Just an itsy-bitsy little devil. He's just a little guy. Garker was talking to you. What? Do you guys have to find another source of ludicrous amounts of water for the data center? Rota. Most celebrated Mass Day music con las hermanas, which is always a delight. And I told them about my experience in San Juan. Go back and heal before I take on this boss. And I made it to the cathedral just in time for the final blessing of Mass. I celebrated Mass already earlier, don't worry. But it was cool to be there, get the blessing, and then also, after the official dismissal for Mass, they did a shout, I guess? I don't know what you call it. But, like, it's a thing usually for large celebrations and liturgical days in Spanish-speaking cultures. So the priest shouted, Viva Cristo de la Resurrección. Long live Christ of the resurrection, or the Christ who is risen. And the people shouted back, Que viva! It's very exciting to do that 3 times. But it tied in well to the gospel because there's a sense in this passage of John where Jesus is talking to Nicodemus, talking about how the Spirit is not rationed out. It's not something finite that the Father withholds. No, it's an infinite love that we who are caught up between the Father and the Son by the nature of Christ's resurrection get to share that. So we have the hope and the joy and are able to say, Que viva. That was close. One, it's fine. Yeah, but if I had taken another fireball hit, I would not have been fine. Let's do it. Fleeman! Oh, that was a 1-2 combo. That was obnoxious. You look dangerous. I'm going to ignore you. The study. Fleemen are the worst. I especially hate variations of Fleemen where it's like they have the armor, and so they're already obnoxious, and then you take the armor off, and then they're bouncing extra all over the place. Oh, no. Or the ones that are riding on white bone dragons. Ow. Giant ghost, you shall be punished for your crime of existing. Illegitimate child sword. Hey, JM. Oh, the Vulture dropped ones. I forgot about those. Those show up in Rondo of Blood, and they are so obnoxious. Want to give Castlevania series a go? Oh, you should. This one's a great one to start with for Aria of Sorrow, or sorry, Symphony of the Night. Honestly, the 3 Game Boy Advance ones are pretty solid in general. Harmony of Dissonance is a little derivative, I will admit, of Soten. But it's got the Derpy Whip, and that's fun. Circle of the Moon may not be a good place to start, though, because that one can be pretty tough at times. Is this GBA? It is! Good to see a bacon. This is, the Switch collection. I forget what this one's... There's the GBA collection, and it's available on Steam as well. And PS4. Yeah, it's basically available on everything. Is it just called the Advanced Collection? That would make sense. I know the DS Collection has, like, a very particular name. And then there's the Classic Collection, which is just like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's like, that makes sense. It's the classics. You got tickets to see Redbox in Ohio. That's cool. I didn't know they were touring that far. I screwed up. I was looking at my phone. The Dominus Collection, that's right. I keep thinking I should look up, like, when they're doing a local show if you're in New York, but... I'm getting into Metroidvania games. That's fair. Not every genre is for everyone. You might like the classics, though, 1 through 4. Those are side-scrolling. Well, 2 is kind of at the early stages of Metroidvania, but 1, 3, and 4 are like pure side-scrollers. Please hold. Please do not buy me a ticket, K-Max. I'd have to look at the date. I don't know if I'd be able to go. Brooklyn Music Hall. Oh, cool. Well, I'll have to look into that. Oh, no, it was your first Metroidvania? Okay. People need to get off their high horses around genres sometimes, in my opinion. Like, the purpose of a name of a genre is a helpful tool to help us quickly understand the general mechanics, not an exact description. Hollow Knight is absolutely a Metroidvania. It is a Souls-inspired Metroidvania, that's for darn sure. Oh, thank you for the link. I was just, when you said, please hold, I'm like, oh no. My brain read that as, don't do anything about this. I also need to look again. I know, not Ill Colin, see the name. Or I can see the album. It's Beatdown Generation. Millington. Let's see why I got Colin and Millington mixed up. They were doing a show in New York. I think it was here in Manhattan, too, so it's like... I've been coming around on Hollow Knight Silksong, though. Not so much. That's okay. I have never played either of them. Why are there so many people here? Hey, you're Soma, aren't you? You must be him. Yes, but who are you? Oh, forgive me. I'm Yoko Belnades. I'm a member of the church. How would a member of the church recognize me? You've met Genya Arikado. I wonder who it could be. I wonder. It's Alucard. I did meet him, but he told me about you and asked it to help you if you were in trouble. Arikado said that? That's hard to believe. Well, he may seem cold at first, but he's actually quite a decent guy. He may be looking out for you because you share the same dark powers. Wait! Did you say my powers are dark? Oh, you mean you didn't know that? No, did I say something? It said. Essentially, you have the power to rule over and command monsters. Rule over monsters? I have no desire to do that. It comes as naturally as breathing for you, so you may not realize it yet. And though I called it a dark power, that doesn't mean it's evil. It's like a weapon. Its user decides whether to use it for good or evil. Well then, when you put it that way, I feel a little bit better. Since I got this power, I've begun to lose my sense of self. You are yourself. There's no one else you could be. Or is there? Don't second guess yourself. Be confident. That's most important. I think I understand now. Thanks, Yoko. Yoko Ono? I'm not used to being thanked by people. Oh, I forgot to ask you. Have you seen a man named Graham? Graham? Yes, I met him earlier. Be wary of that man. I believe that he will inherit Dracula's powers. No way! He'd not look like a bad guy. Right, and I've got a bridge to sell you. Don't be fooled by his appearance. He's not who you think he is. All right. Well, I must be going. I've got to find Graham. See you around. I think the translation of this game is a little awkward, but the general intent is there, and I do like that. Since our hero here is in high school, he's not, the most learned or world-traveled. Imagine actually having a coin that was worth $100. Like, how would you spend that? Like, would you carry around multiple $100 coins? It seems like it would get very heavy. How dare you, Gorgon? No! No, stop it, Gorgon! No! Bad Gorgon. Pokemon cards? Yeah, no, but my question is less like how, but like... Because, like, bills are thin, and, like, you can stack them easily. But, like, coins... Like, imagine buying a PC with just coins. Okay, it has the same power as our current sword. Wait a minute. This is just from Bloodborne. Bloodborne ripped this game off. So it has with Bitcoin. Okay, yeah, but that doesn't have any physical presence. Shake your head at Bloodborne? What? Doesn't Bloodborne have a chainsword? Isn't that like a thing? Like, I've played about the first hour of Bloodborne, and that's the only Souls-like I've ever played, and I went, wow, I don't like this gameplay loop. Bloodborne is massively overrated. Oh, wow. From someone who loves it. That's, you know, that's someone who I would trust the opinion of, quite frankly, to say something's overrated. And we can absolutely love things that are overrated. I don't know if I love it, but I quite like Final Fantasy VII. Bloodborne is the third best Souls-like. Okay, but you think Dark Souls 2 is the best, so I know that opinion is unique, to say the least. Ow! Going backwards up the stairs was slow. No Demon Souls? Okay, but I've heard people defend Demon Souls as the best. Like, that's not a hot take, but saying Dark Souls 2 is the best Dark Souls. What's a child like yourself doing in a place like this? Child. Oh, you're rude, Grandpa. Dude, you're in high school. Oh, my apologies. My name's Hammer. Honey, what do you want to name your baby? Hammer. Oh, that'll go perfect with drill. There are dozens of us. Your parents just like Xeno here as well. Fair enough. The army ordered me to come here. Which army? You can't just say the army. These are my... To answer one Arrested Development meme with another, these are my awards from Army Mother. Hi, I'm Soma. I thought I was inspecting a shrine, but suddenly I was in a castle. Don't you think that's a mean thing to do to a guy? So, I just bailed on my mission. You're a terrible soldier. What do you mean? There were a bunch of strange people gathered in shrine. I thought they'd be good customers, so I opened up a shop. You armed them. Ah, good for you. There are weapons all over this castle, and no monsters in the front gate. Good place for this shop. Come on by. I give you a good deal. They should have a Russian accent now, I think. Wow. A shop? Huh. I don't get it. It's a place you buy things, Soma. Need to rewatch first. My boss just started rewatching it, apparently. Must be something in the water. Oh, come on. I think the extent of my Dark Souls knowledge, other than watching a few streamer friends play the games, is the animated short happy souls. So when you were talking about the PvP, I was just thinking of the invader in that with a very poor internet connection. Are we okay to ask a question? Absolutely, always. Also good to see a wolf. Ow. Ow. Immunity to curses? Sure, even though I don't find curse that annoying in this game. I find curse most annoying in the games where it means you can't attack. Watch the documentary, Opinion and Prophecy in Daniel, Matthew, and Revelation have already come to pass. They note that large denominations understand this. I was wondering, something held by Catholicism or something rejected. Yeah, so generally, so it's complicated. There is no simple thing. Generally, the prophecy of Daniel is understood to be ending with the Roman Empire in particular, but there is a sense in which how to word this. So much of prophecy, well, prophecy itself points to Christ, and so in that sense, Christ having come, it has reached its end. And so even something like Revelation we understand as not necessarily looking to the future, but using what is known as apocalyptic language, where, and Daniel uses a lot of this too, wherein it's using common, or what was common, culturally used imagery to talk about the end times as a metaphor for what is currently happening. So it's not necessarily, hey, here's a roadmap of what is going to happen, but more, we're using this imagery of the end times of what we think it might be, / metaphorically is, to understand better what is happening now. So like that is a major and central part, both in Daniel and the Book of Revelation. And also, again, the sense that Revelation has come to be fulfilled in Christ. And yet also there is a sense of the not yet, because of Revelation in some ways does get us thinking about what we call the eschaton, the end times, and what that means, and what we think about the eschaton, i.e. the resurrection of the body, the salvation of the world, language like that matters, and in that sense doesn't come to pass. So the Catholic Church doesn't hold a view like, oh, Revelation is a roadmap to the end times, and look, this thing that's happening now in the news correlates perfectly to this line. It's like, no, it's more John was speaking to his audience and to his immediate audience about what was going on in their lives in the Roman world, but also to the church at large of, hey, bad things happen, here's how we understand it, and put it into the context of Christ and Christian living. Thank you for the alert, Creepy. Good to see you. But there is a sense of the not yet, and already but not yet, and the not yet has not quite been fulfilled. And, you know, that's where Christ is talking. I mean, even some of that shows up in the Gospels where Christ talks about the end days. But again, we don't, within the Catholic Church, we don't view it as a literal roadmap of this is exactly how it will unfold. More a theological tool of how we approach it, if that difference makes sense. Does that help, Wolf? That's a great question, by the way. Ow. Nope. Okay. Must get to save room. Does the Catholic Church have an official stance on the rapture? Yes. The Catholic Church does not believe in the rapture. What we profess in the creed is the resurrection of the body, that we believe at the end times the bodies of all peoples will be raised from the dead and given glorified and the saints will be given glorified resurrected bodies in a manner after the pattern of Christ's and his resurrection. But anything, and I know they can get memed on pretty hard, and so I'm not trying to dunk on it per se, but like the stuff like the Left Behind series does not line up with Catholic theology. I think the proper term is amillennialism. Well, ecumenism is inherently theological, so it gets to be both. But yes, and it's one of those things too, like how we understand prophecy in scripture is that it doesn't necessarily, like, we sometimes think in a modern sense, like because of movies and things, like, oh, there's a prophecy that someone will like, even this game, there's like, oh, there's a prophecy that a new person will come take the castle. Prophetic writing in the ancient Israeli Hebrew system is much more complex and not necessarily a prediction. It can be. It can be, you know, because there's like the prophecy that Israel would return to the from exile. But there's also prophetic writings and examples where it's like this isn't a promise or well, it is a promise, but it isn't like a roadmap. It's speaking to the present. And sometimes it can be multiple things. Oh no, is Reed Mass broken? Did it not appear? Also, hi Mel. He was saying Rapture wasn't scriptural and said something cataclysmic. We're saying congratulations for God's kingdom. Doing pressing in of the church. Things will get better, not worse, in a cataclysmic sense. Oh, is it purple again? Did it show up? How did you get that 5 for 5? Yeah, well, and I think in a general sense, the Catholic Church would say that the ultimate goal, or not goal, that's not quite the right word, but the end, quite literally, will be a good thing. You know, we look, in the Creed, one of the things we say is we look forward to the resurrection of the dead. This isn't like, you know, it's not an apocalyptic event like a movie, but it is an end. But it's one we can look forward to and have great hope for. And in that sense, you know, the fullness of God's kingdom will be realized, or made manifest, I should say. I guess be made realized, or realized by us. But I think the general Catholic take theologically would be, things are going to go up, things are going to go down. We have seen a lot over 2,000 years. God is still with us. Four-part, only 1 second so far. Oh, that sounds like an interesting documentary. You know, there's so many, like, people, like, weird authors out there who are like, oh, the Vatican has the secret archive. It's like, okay, well, that's not what that word means. I just went in a loop. I guess I should go back to the start of the castle. But, you know, there's, like, I remember, there was this AI video about the Pope opening a secret portal that only opens every 25 years, and it will have 400 priests in Vatican Square chanting Latin backwards. It's like, this is ridiculous. It was about the Holy Year. The doors he was opening were the doors to the basilicas, which have been opened several times. But they were trying to make it out like it's this world-ending event. So, you got Invisalign! That is a deceptive ad. Apparently Father Meeple thinks it's All Souls Day. Or he's got a funeral to go to. Okay, where was that transportation? Like, okay, I can go this way. Ow. That does not loop me around the way I want it to. But I could go up. I guess that works too. Or not. Apparently I can't. I thought I could there. Dodge your arrow. I feel like I wasn't supposed to be able to make that jump. Like, I kind of clipped on the corner in a weird way. That's okay, I can't make it any higher. You know, even though it's kind of bit crushed because it's the GBA, the soundtrack is still really well done. You know, I could have grabbed that earlier. Although these gym clothes are just objectively better. Because they're higher defense, and they up my constitution. What did you wear to your fight with Dracula? Oh, my gym clothes. Feel like that went very well. Hey, I'm glad to hear that. Congrats. What was it like having an in-person interview? Oh, sorry, that's not Gorgon. It's a Catavlepas. Probably knows gotta be Topu boss. Something similar. Oh, so y'all remember how yesterday I was talking about haploid versus diploid in ants? I did, in fact, get it backwards. It's the males who are haploids, meaning they only have one set of chromosomes, and it is the females who are diploidic. So, A, wanted to correct that mistake. B, I learned about the concept of polyploidy, wherein something has beyond one or two sets of chromosomes. And apparently this happens in various species. Some are 3 or 4. The record, though, and apparently this also happens sometimes in particular organs, and not like the whole of a species. And the silkworm, like the common silkworm, where we get silk from, their silk glands have over 1 million sets of chromosomes. Being in person makes you way less nervous. Oh, cool. I'm glad to hear it went well. That enemy is placed there just for the people like me who dropped down from that area. So silk is genetically superior fabric? Apparently. Or apparently it just takes a lot of chromosomes to make. Although apparently a lot of silkworm DNA is highly repetitive. And maybe I didn't fully understand it properly either, like I will fully admit that, but I was reading, I was like, wow, that's wild. It's true, silkworms do need us. Here's a question for the Castlevania crowd. Which is more annoying, Fleeman or Medusa heads? Months if you support the monsters. Ah, the dance hall. 1, 2, 3. Cleveland are tied, but only with Medusa. It's the turn just done. The other ones don't count. Valid. Oh, hello, other person. Strange, I sense a dark power within you. Who are you? It is rude to ask questions before introducing yourself. Yes, you're right. Can't give you my name, but people call me Jay. Who in the Castlevania universe might have a name that starts with J? Anyway. People call you Jay. Why hide your real name? Are you a criminal? No. I have amnesia. I told that I was in an accident in 1999. When I woke up in the hospital, I'd forgotten my name and my past. And the hospital wasn't like, here's your name, sir. Didn't have ID? An insurance card? Oh, I see. Well, my name's Soma. Your dark power, were you born with it? I don't really know. I first noticed it when I entered this castle. You hadn't noticed it when you entered the cube. Didn't notice it till someone else pointed it. Anyway. I see. Guess I was mistaken. Mr. J, why have you come to this castle? Call me Jay. We already established your name is Jay! I am filled with fear when I hear the name Dracula. Ooh. I came here because of the prophecy. I also thought my memory might return. In fact, since my arrival, I felt like my memory is returning. And your accident occurred in 1999? Maybe Dracula was involved. I fear you are correct, especially since I have magical powers. It's a way to introduce yourself. Jay, are you an exorcist? Well, I might say that, but I work for no one but myself. I must be going now. I'm sure we'll meet again. Yes. See ya. That whole interaction was not between two real people. So it looks like hers will keep up to you a little bit. Are you the Are you the Bathies? Spoilers, Beer Fox. Something got in my eye right there. No, I do not have the jumpman skills to get up there. Ow. By wake up with no memory, doing good guy things is a trope at this point. This is true. However, we're Summer Cruise, and we know who we are. It's just Justin. But I mean, crazy how further from 1990 crazy how we are further from 1999 than 1990 was from 1900. No? Incorrect? Dracula. Dracula, but of denim. Dracula. Oh, Amnesia was totally a trope. Haven't you watched soap operas? So if I teleport back to the star... Okay, this is where I wanted to make it to anyway, so I don't need to leave this area. You have amnesia when it comes to soap operas. Dracula, where's Jingo? And honestly, that is wild. The 1999 was more than a quarter century ago. Okay. Yeah. The Tempest will continue to fugit until morale improves. And let me tell you, morale is at an all-time low. I know you were just trying to make a joke. And there's a part of me that would have read that and gone, yeah! And then later been like, wait a minute. Is there not a save point anywhere? Thank you. I try to keep my math skills somewhat fresh. I haven't done it lately, which is, I guess, a good thing. But in seminary and in meetings, I will do, if I'm bored and I have a piece of paper, I'll do random integrals. Stop it! No! It's unlocked! The older each and every day realize my child games could drink now. Well, when you put it that way. Well, I have a butler here throwing curry at me. See, that's what weirds me out, is when they're, like, saying, oh, such and such game is 30 years old. I think about it, like, yeah, okay, I was 6 when it came out. That makes sense. You know, but then when people are like, oh yeah, Bloodborne is 10 years old, I'm like, that can't be. That game just came out because it was on the PS3. Wait. Or PS4, I guess. But still. I mean, I have a PS4 in my office here. Go, my mighty steed. Halo 3 selective vote. That one's weird because I played a lot of that in high school. So it's weird to think. Yeah. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is a new game. Wait, it's what? Well, look, all Fire Emblem games are the same to me, so I don't really know how old they are. Or if they're real. You could be like, oh yeah, Fire Emblem Gem of Exclusion just came out. I'd be like, okay, I've never heard of it, but I'll take your word that it's a real game. See, in high school, my group of friends, what we loved doing was messing around in the forge. And there was like a particular way you could set up respawning exploding barrels inside of like a giant transport vehicle that would make it eternally explode and continue flying. And so we'd set that up, of course, and then we'd also like one day we were like, one of us was in the like creator mode and the other person was on a 4-wheeler and just like chasing each other around for like 2 hours. You don't have to hurt me like this. In fact, Halo 3 is the only Halo I've actually played, come to think of it. Where am I going? All roads lead to Rome here. Okay. Wait a minute, you were a boss earlier. Now you're just a normal enemy? What is this? ODST has a good campaign. I might have to check that out on my own time at some point. I don't really play a ton of shooters anymore. In fact, the only shooter I ever really played a ton of other than Halo, I played Halo 3 in high school. And then in college, I played a ton of Battlefield Bad Company 2 with my roommates, particularly Gale. One roommate had a PS3, like the original PS3, the size of a printer. And we played it on that, and we clocked up over 1,000 hours on his account combined between the three of us, and then Gail got a PS3 and put that in the living room on a second TV. That was dangerous. Then I got my own PS3 when I moved to a different apartment. Clocked up, I think, about 400 hours on my own. Bad Company 2 is so good. I wish they'd make another like it. Because, like, the class system was very simple, but there was some nice modification, but, like, it wasn't, like, super in-depth. And I like that because, like, I tried Battlefield 3, which was the next one to be released, and it felt like I was in menus forever comparing minute differences on equipment, and I'm like, I don't care that much. I just want to go play Bang Bang Shoot Shoot. And the Destructo environments were a blast. Also, the gameplay, there was, like, there were 2, like, consoles you had to blow up. And then make it, if you did, then you made it to the next one, or you were defending them. And the way that made very dynamic maps, I thought was really interesting and really well done. And also the Destructo environments, again, a lot of fun. Also the fact that you could put C4 on a friendly vehicle and blow it up, and so long as an ally was on it, the vehicle would not blow up. So you could have a C4 delivery system. Daft Punk Discovery turns 25 in March. Dang. World of Tanks, true. Well, at least the game was free, and there were probably enough other people with promo codes that you could play that game forever for free. It's a big scary. Yeah, he was a boss earlier. Now he's just like a random dude. Buy a gray hair, buy a coffin. I remember a story of a Franciscan friar who made his own he made coffins as a business, and so he made his own. And every day he would lie in it for a little bit and meditate. And I was like, that's actually kind of cool. Little memento mori. Start your day, have a cup of coffee, lie in your coffin, think about your death. Franciscan Dracula is a real Franciscan Dracula. Oh, Calvinist Dracula. It's a turret. You, sir, please do not throw up rocks on me. Ow! Don't do that either. I have not played Rogue Legacy. I've known of it for a long time, but that's about it. Maybe I should one day actually give it a try. Sir, I am stuck in the corner. You are not helping. Thank you. You're gonna try Rogue Legacy? Okay. Now, isn't that the one where, like, when you die, it's like a roguelike Metroidvania, and when you die, you have, like, traits that you pass on? And that is where the legacy portion comes in, or am I thinking of a different game? You know, I use gold gathered by upgrades. Yeah, but isn't there also like a, not a genetic, but like the idea is that each run you are like a successive generation? Ow! That's very rude, Hadoken. Or not Hadoken. Sure you can. You pick a different... Okay, so it is the game I'm thinking of. I should give that a try. I've seen a little bit of gameplay and I thought, oh, that looks cool. There are just too many games. Okay, so we need to go up. Luck increased by 4. Let's go. Who needs other stats when you have luck? What? Okay, somehow I activated the pause menu and got out of it really quickly. I don't know what happened. Well, luck is really good in this game in particular because it helps you get all the different souls of the monsters, which there's like... I'm trying to remember. There's like something you get if you get them all. You idled until you got the trading cards. That's kind of crazy and brilliant at the same time. I'd probably take wisdom over luck, but unfortunately I have neither. Why does this maid know kung fu? Why is her name Persephone? Net 20. Well, that sounds helpful. Just be careful with a luck stat, because if it goes too high, it can roll over back to 0. where like you'll be incredibly lucky, but unfortunately the thing you're lucky at getting is the bad thing. I don't think I'm supposed to go that way yet. You just described unlucky? No. Unlucky is its own bad thing, but like when the luck is so good it rolls back over to 0 is a whole other problem. Oh, this boss is so cool. And creepy. There are some implications with this boss that are honestly a little unsettling. Because like unlucky, you'll never have the good stuff happen, but like you'll have kind of a generic panoply of bad. But like the so lucky you're unlucky, like you just get the uniquely terrible stuff. What? I do not know why that menu popped up there. I did not press the button that does that. Yup. I should probably heal. Ow! Sir? Sir. Are we hobbits in all cases? That's a good question, Wolf. I don't think I have an antidote. No, I do. Okay, cool. No! Oh, that's why it keeps happening. I can rewind time. Oh, that seems like cheating. He says using it. I know you could do that in the other games, but like, what's weird is it was the L button. It's the R button in this one, but because I was checking which collection this one was on. Because I do have the Advance, the Classic, the Advance, and the DS. Oh. Because I'm a nerd. We're gonna go let's go visit the shop. Unless we're both stuck in this as a loop, okay? 4 HP in a dream! Yeah, it's in the other collections, but it's like a different button. Like, which was, I was like, oh, I guess this one doesn't have it? that mode 7 in the background. Why is your name Curly? Is there a Joe as well? Or Larry Curly. Is there a Mo and a Larry? Ow. It is a shame that, generally speaking, game translation has a much higher quality these days. We're no longer going to get things like "This Guy Are Sick," Ted Woolsey. But then again, we're also never going to get "This Guy Are Sick" from Ted Woolsey again. All your base are belong to us. Somebody set us up the bomb? Ooh, walk on the surfaces of water. That could be useful. Grunting. Grunting was Beowulf's sword, wasn't it? Giant enemy crab attack is weak point for massive damage. Man, the fact that that was an E3 display for the PS3 is wild. What way? What way? I'll go this way. You're not my reflection. Although you are close to myrtleating me. Now. I'd like to find a save point. None of these are save points! That actually hurt me! Now I can't rewind. The rewind button's not working. Fortunately, this controller is brand new. Oh well. We're playing this the old-fashioned way. No, it's just R earlier. See, ZL is this menu. Oh, well. You raw meat causes food poisoning and damage? Well, okay, but it's a video game. This boss lulls you into a great false sense of security because you're like, ah, this boss is easy. Make your time. Pure Fox, you have no chance to survive. Dick up every zig for great justice. I have a disturbing amount of that meme memorized. All your base, all your base are belong to us. Really, truly one of the earliest memes. I think Dancing Baby was still earlier, but yep. That was a nice press throwing button there. Was albino black sheep life, or was it just brain rot? Because, like, llama duck, I mean, come on. And we complain about the kids and their skibbity. And skibbity's not even in fashion anymore. You'd be sentenced to death for cringe for referencing skibbity in the schoolyard these days. I don't know if we had the patience, we just had the necessity. Now, E-Bombs World. I don't recognize that name. Maybe if I looked it up, I'd recognize it, but I don't recognize it off the top of my head. Techno Badger. You're so glad I don't? Okay. It was like albino black sheep. Okay, another website. I'm trying to remember. My school, we frequented albino black sheep some, but there was like another like, and it wasn't. It was a less commonly known one, I guess. Because, like, what was the major one that, like, had a lot of the games that actually managed to survive well past the Flash Golden Age? Had the tank as its logo. Faces of Death. Okay, Faces of Death sounds familiar. Now, one series, I don't know if anyone here would recognize it. I don't even remember what it was called, but, like, the main character was Kerrigan. She loved muffins. She was green. Probably the squirrel. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably this goes way too early. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Foamy, Happy Tree Friends. Things we should not have been watching as children. Fireplace. That's a huge bump in defense. Slight loss in Constitution, but especially that separates you from the sheltered kids for sure. Depends on where you were. I was at the sheltered Catholic kids school. Newgrounds, that's the one I was trying to find, but that's not the one my circle of friends and schoolmates frequented. I can't remember what it was. We found some really obscure things too. Not like bad, but just like weird. It's like I remember there was one Flash game called the Pie Game, like as in the food pie. It was a platformer. It was fine, but like one of the controls was that if you press the comma key, you would send a secret psychic message to Tony Blair. Why not? Like an otherwise innocuous game, but promoted from sending random messages to Tony Blair. Oh, the ASCII art of game FAQs. Yes. I've said this on stream before, but my dad would print out the game facts guides and bring them home for me. When I was struggling in a game, which... questionable use of the office equipment, but you basically have like a little phone book. Top floor, which ironically is well below a lot of the castle. Can't get up there yet, so that's a dead end. I could go the other way. It's going to become a dead end. So we have the slide ability, so that should unlock something, as well as the ability to walk on water, which does allow us to go towards the bottom of the castle. So that unconnected area there requires you to be able to swim or walk on water. So maybe that's where we head. The Castlevania litany of logging. Basically, how you doing, Hope? Yeah, I can't get up here yet because I need to have some sort of flying ability. Why am I smelling garlic bread? Now I want garlic bread. Which, to be fair, I generally want garlic bread, but... You know, the Castlevania Metroidvania games always had a musical theme. Yeah, well, a lot of them do. This is Aria of Sorrow. There's Harmony of Dissonance. There's Symphony of the Night. Samba of Solitude, yeah. I should probably go visit the guy who's like, I have a shop. Okay. A bit of complacency. I'm not familiar with that musical movement. Brian David Gilbert, in his Castlevania Unraveled, did a "What's your Castlevania name?" One of those things where it's like based on your birth month and date, etc. It's very funny. Rude. God, the soliloquy. I'd listen to that. Especially if the art had someone falling through the ceiling. The Oakway Metal. How do you make a ska band name? Oh, you just take two words and you mash them together. Penguin Lunchbox. I'd listen to Penguin Lunchbox. New Metal of Negligence. That's what Dracula listens to. He's a terrible dad. Hold on. Hold on. I was somewhere else in the castle. I was in, like, the middle of everything, and now I'm up there. This is not right. Can I return? Yes. Ow, I am playing very sloppily. Correct horse battery staple. Ah, now we know Mel's password. Beer Box and I are sharing the brain cell. Maybe they ran out of map space? Nah, it's this whole, like, funky teleport area designed to confuse you. I belong here. We are your people. See, now I'm up there, but and now I'm here. Which, actually, I think... Ow! What? Why? Wait, XKCD has a dark mode? Man, speaking of things that are really old, I've been reading that since high school, and I was not new. Well, this looks ominous. Oh, it's just one comic. Okay, I think I do remember that one. I thought you meant just, like, in general. I think we're going to call it there, though. I think that's a good place, good save point. And we'll figure out where to go next week. So, thank you so much for tuning in to Let Us Play. I've been your host, Father Evan. It's been good to be with y'all today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Airplane in mode. Oh, dear. I'm going to have to look at this one. Do hope you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. I'll be celebrating Busted Halo's 25th anniversary. It's wild to think that that's been around 25 years. Speaking of the Tempest Fugit. Yeah. I think there's no special announcements. Monday, back to Kingdom Hearts 3. Tuesday, Timothy and Titus. I'm so hyped for this. I'm so excited. Wednesday, Minecraft. Thursday, more Aria of Sorrow. So thank you to everyone who's liked, followed, subscribed, give them bits, all that good jazz. Thank you for checking out the YouTube and the Discord. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And let's see who's live that we can raid into. Broseph is live. We're going to go on over there. He's a Castlevania fan. Go give him some love. He's playing some Cobblemon. It's the same server that I'm working in. Raid call is Father Raid. And I think that's everything. So, again, hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care. God bless. And a great weekend.